Hey guys, if you joined us last time, you got to see this battery get smoked, quite literally, as we tried to turn this big white oak log over on the mill. We got that problem solved, and now we're on to sawing this big old honking piece of wood into 2x6s and 2x8s. So welcome back to the Dusty Ranch, and thank you for joining us. Join me as we turn about 2.5 hours of work into approximately a 10-minute video. I'll point some interesting things out along the way, and we'll just have us a good time as we make some sawdust. And hey, if you find yourself enjoying this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Tap that bell notification, and if you have some comments or remarks, drop them below. I'd love to hear from you guys. For now, let's sit back and watch some sawdust be slung. As I mentioned in my last video, this log might have taken a little bit longer because I've started cutting the cap cuts in the firewood as I go along. That way I'm not spending a bunch of time later in the fall trying to get firewood cut out of my huge slab pile. You'll also notice that I'm actually finished right here for the day. It's supposed to get below freezing before I can make it back out to the sawmill, and I found that if I purge my system as opposed to putting the windshield wiper fluid into my reservoir, it lasts a lot longer, so I save money on windshield wiper fluid. You'll also notice my load of firewood there. That's come from just this log. I've got my flitch cut there, and as opposed to trying to push that thing around by hand, I'm just using the machine, and I'll move it out the way. The height from the blade to the bottom of the sawmill head there, that mouth opening is about 8 to 10 inches, giving you about 8 or 10 inches worth of cut. So I had an 8-inch fletch there. Go ahead and get that sucker off of there, and we'll move on to cutting a couple of more cants so that we can slice those bad boys into 2x6s and 2x8s. So I use the hydraulics on the sawmill just to go ahead and move that entire stack over to where I can grab a hold of it with the forks on the skid steer. Each one of these boards weighs about 80 pounds a piece, so I have no desire to pick them up if I can avoid it. Save my back when I have hydraulics and diesel fuel. I also mentioned that stacking this lumber with stickers burns up a tremendous amount of time. However, when I first started, I would not do this, and as of now, I have had all these logs sawed for approximately 3 weeks, and they've been sitting stacked with stickers, which means they're not molding and they're not wasting away. They're air drying until the client can get to them. Now, I'm pretty lenient on some of my clients as to when they can pick things up. A lot of guys are not, and I understand that. But I do this as I get time, so I allow them to come pick their materials up when they get time, for the most part, within reason. And I do not want that lumber to go bad while it's on my property. So the time that it takes to go ahead and stick these things, I just add that to the cost of doing business. And I found that most of the time my clients appreciate that, because at that point all they have to do is unload it with their machine and stack it in their barn. So if you're new to stickering lumber, or even if you're a homeowner and you need to make sure that your lumber is drying, air drying, there's a couple of things I want to caution you about. Number one, make sure that your stickers are all the same thickness. You want all of this lumber to lay flat. And then secondly, as you notice me putting new stickers down here, I am placing each one of the new stickers directly on top of the others. Right here you see I'm putting 4. I typically try to space my stickers between 18 and 24 inches. It's also important to note that lumber dries across the largest surface area. So in this case, it's the face of that board. So when you put it edge to edge, that's okay. Some people get worried about that, but that lumber is going to dry across its face. It's also nice if you have some kind of circulation. If you can put a fan where the air is blowing through this stack, that's going to help with that drying process. You have to be careful, especially with hardwood, that it doesn't dry too fast, because it contains so much moisture. That's when you get cracking and checking. So if you're wanting to put it in some kind of a kiln device, the typical procedure is to let it air dry for a period of time and get it down to a lower moisture content so that you can then put it in your kiln and bring it all the way down to the moisture content that you're looking for your specific climate. So warning, I'm going to whine a little bit. This is actually my least favorite part of the entire process, because you're finished with your cants and you feel like in your heart that you're finished. But then you remember that you have a couple of slabs left to do. In this case, I'm getting enough lumber out of these large slabs that it makes it somewhat worth it, but I'm still going to whine a little bit. I'll also mention that I have yet to resolve the issue with my AccuSet 2, so I'm actually doing all my calculations manually, which is okay, it's not a big deal. However, I will be doing a video shortly showing you the resolution to that problem. But as for the next video, there's going to be kind of a special video with me working on another sawmill, kind of a big announcement here in the next couple of weeks. So join me for next week's episode, because I think that you're going to enjoy that one a fair bit. We're going to have a return of an old friend. And there it is, my friends, the final board on this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this. Making sawdust with you guys. I've enjoyed making the video. And until we see you next time, I hope you all keep it dusty.